Ladies and gentlemen, in true fashion, I'm going to shock you to the core and reveal the things that nobody ever saw that was right in front of their eyes. And especially point out that none of these false prophets, these false Trump prophets running around in these days, have the knowledge and understanding of the science and the things that are unfolding in the world and can link it to scripture in the manner in which I can. So we're going to look at 1 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 16. And it states, "Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and the Spirit of God dwelleth within you?" Very specific wording. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God? So it should come to no surprise. This is where your temple is. This is exactly what it has been named, your temple. Exactly what that has been named through science, through medical science and anatomy. So what I want to show to you is a Revelation 9 verse 4, and it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. In their foreheads. And we know that's where the mark of the beast. We know that's where the mark of the beast is going to be. So what we're going to look at now is what's called your sinus cavity. This is the manner in which all viruses enter into your respiratory system every respiratory virus enters your system via your sinus cavity. And I'm going to use this under the fair use act because he's very credible. Dr. John Campbell has done a show, put forth the evidence from proven studies from the BHF that an astonishing rise in atrial fibrillation, there's been an astonishing rise in atrial fibrillation, which affects your sinus rhythm of your heart. The sinus rhythm that your heart produces. There's your sinus cavity, but your heart also produces a sinus rhythm. This is May the 24th, 2023. The recent discoveries that have been made with the sinus rhythm of increased alarming rise in atrial fibrillation and the sinus rhythm. Can we find that in Scripture? It is found in Luke 21 verse 26. Men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Men's hearts failing them. That is exactly what the studies are showing. An alarming rise, astonishing rise in atrial fibrillation of the sinus rhythm. Gets better. Gets much better. Has anybody ever heard of what's called a sine wave? Also called a sinusoidal wave. A sinusoidal wave. Also called a sine wave. Do you know what produces a sine wave, also called a sinusoidal wave? I wrote it in this book. I published it before this started unfolding. That's what produces a sinusoidal wave. The Bluetooth frequency produces a sinusoidal wave. That's what it produces. That is the Bluetooth frequency that produces a sinusoidal wave. Remember everything that I've taught you about the waters, men's heart failing them for fear. The sinus rhythm of atrial fibrillation that is occurring at an astonishing rise. Men's hearts failing them. The Bluetooth frequency, which is a sinusoidal wave. Let's look at that. The sinusoidal waveforms are sine wave. It is a sine wave in shortened form. Can we find that in Scripture? Luke 21:25-33. And there shall be signs in the waves, in the sea and the waves. There shall be signs in the waves. And I want to go back to this. Everything that I've taught you about phones, how everything's related to phones, and that phones is actually a word that was removed from the Bible. This is not a new word. It's an ancient word that was removed from the Bible. Phones are very important to the Scripture, and that's why they removed it, because sign and sign are two commonly confused words that are pronounced in the same way but are spelled differently and have different meanings, which makes them homophones. Incredible, isn't it, people? Homophones. Sign and sign are homophones. So now you understand. And there shall be signs in the waves. Signs in the waves. None of these foolish, ignorant, biblically illiterate can show you the incredible things that I know. This is the omnipotence of God that only He can show His true prophet. The incredible things, the sinusoidal waves. Bluetooth frequency. That is what it is. That is what it is, and it was written in the book, in that book that I published. And this is what drives the false prophets crazy. They don't have nearly the knowledge. The sinusoidal rhythm of the hearts. See the wavelength? See the wavelength? See the wavelength of the sinusoidal wave? Those frequencies can do so many things to your sinus rhythm of your heart. It can also do many things to your sinus cavity, where respiratory infections begin. Incredible, isn't it, people? This is what separates true prophets from false prophets. True prophets are studied to be found approved and can reveal things like no one else can, because they have been approved by God. They have been studied to be found approved. This is who God chooses. God chooses those who are studied to be found approved, not ignorant ones like Timothy Dixon or Robin Bullock or any of these other clowns that are running around claiming vague janglings and ambiguous language. Do not hurt those which have not or have not the seal of God in their foreheads. Sinusoidal, sinus cavities. There's your temple in the forehead. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God? It was always there, but it took God showing it to me to reveal it to everyone else, the world. And this is exactly why all the false Trump prophets are losing their minds, because it's all copyrighted intellectual property. And God told me to put it in copyrighted form so that they could be held accountable and even given 3 years in prison and a $250,000 fine on top of all for copyright infringement. God bless.